Welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast, your go-to source for personal, professional, and organizational growth and development. We hope you tune in often for all things people management, organizational development and change, organizational leadership, and social impact related. Maximize your personal and organizational potential with Human Capital Innovations Podcast. Welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. In this HCI podcast episode, I talk with Tonya Thomas about why we should delegate, what signs to look for to know when it's time to delegate, and why it is so difficult to delegate well. Tonya Thomas, welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. I'm excited to have a conversation with you today. We're going to be focusing on the why, the how, and the when to delegate and how to do it effectively. And I'm excited about this topic because I think while it's something that we have heard a lot about and we probably all think a bit about, I inevitably see managers and leaders doing this rather poorly. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity to fine tune our approach as we try to work with people in our teams. As we get started, I wanted to share Tonya's bio with everybody. Tonya Thomas is the founder of Team Delegate, a provider of elite virtual executive assistant support to seasoned executives turned small business owners. Team Delegate's highly trained executive VAs provide comprehensive administrative support that helps time-starved CEOs to double their productivity so they can triple their earnings. Tonya has been featured in national media, including Entrepreneur and Black Enterprise. She has spoken at women's business events as well as been invited as a guest on podcasts. Her company has provided executive virtual assistant support to entrepreneurs and small business owners for over 20 years, helping CEOs grow their teams from 1 employee to 50, lead multi-million-dollar revenue growth, and freeing up their time to oversee major expansion projects. Tonya resides in Dallas, Texas with her husband and 2 sons. In her spare time, she enjoys walking, reading, and watching her favorite television shows and movies. That's wonderful. I also love movies and TV, and that's a fun little kind of pastime and opportunity to decompress at the end of a long day. And
Yes.
it really truly is a pleasure to have you. I am excited to learn more about your perspective on this topic. Before we launch into the conversation, anything that you would like to share with listeners by way of your personal background or context?
Sure, I can add a little bit more to that. Having been in business for over 20 years, I've seen a lot, heard a lot as it relates to delegating, and it's just become my passion to help business owners learn to do it more effectively because I know the power of it and what it can do to help their companies grow.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really is an under-leveraged skill, I think. I think probably most leaders think they're good at delegating, but in actuality, it seems like many are not particularly good at it.
Right.
So, and to your point about really what your business does, it's about allowing ourselves as leaders to focus on those most important tasks and responsibilities, those
Right.
strategic, big picture vision areas that are so important. And there's so much of the other stuff that we can let go of. And sometimes it's a controlling issue that we don't want to let go of control and empower other people. Sometimes, we don't feel like others can do it as well as we can do. Sometimes it's just our comfort zone. And we like having tasks that probably aren't, really what we should be spending our time on. But we just like doing them. So we continue to do them, even though we should just really get someone else to do it for us. And so for a variety of reasons, I think we just tend to not delegate or maximize that as we go about our days. So let's start about the why, establish the business case for why delegation is so important. What do you tell business leaders when you're reaching out and talking to them about this topic? Why is it so important that they delegate?
Sure. It's important because, as you were alluding to just a minute ago, you really need that time to be able to think. Because a lot of times you can get so caught up working in the business that you don't work on it, and it becomes stale and bottlenecked. Even for someone who's not scaling and you're a solo entrepreneur, you still need to have that time to work on your business and still be able to think about different ways that you want to bring in additional revenue streams or anything like that. So those are the why it's important. And then the other reason why it's important is because it can also lead to burnout. If you're trying to do everything yourself, you can head down that road too. So those are the reasons why I always tell people that I think that it's important that you do it. Just to recap, so that it doesn't lead to burnout. And then also you want to think strategically about your business and how you can help it stay afloat and grow.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought up the burnout piece, because we do have limits to our ongoing capacities, and if we're trying to have a sustainable, approach in our energy and our effort and our attention, there's only so much we can do. So we surround ourselves with good people, and then it's only as we lean on them and delegate and empower them to do good work, that we're going to be able to create a sustainable work environment where everyone can thrive. And if we're
Right.
if we're hoarding tasks and activities and power, whether it's because that's our intention or not, eventually we are going to um, hit our limit, and things will fall through the cracks. And even if we think we're better at it than the person who's helping us, if we miss things, if we're not attentive enough to specific details, we can actually end up shooting ourselves in the foot and inadvertently really hurting not only ourselves, our own career, but the business and those that depend on us as a leader. So for so many reasons, like, avoid burnout, practice self-care, and be productive. And that requires us to delegate, which is good for us. It's good for the business. Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit more now about the how do we go about delegating effectively? And what are some of the roadblocks or some of the pitfalls that you see people falling into?
Good question. So a lot of people don't really know how, and I talk to people all the time, and they know that they need to do it, so they've reached that point. But then it's like, okay, where do I begin? How do I do this? I don't even know what to give. So what I always like to tell people, if they're wondering, how to start, what you can give, is the simple thing is just to keep track of what you're doing. So you may take a week or two and have something on your desk, a notebook or something. And as you're doing things, just stay cognizant of what you're doing and think, is this something that I should actually be spending my time on? And if it's not, write it down and you build that list. And then, you want to go back afterwards and determine whether or not that's a do it or a delegate it or delete it, dump it, even get rid of it. So that's how to start from the beginning of doing that. And then a lot of times people, even once they have that, it's like, okay, but I'm nervous about giving anybody anything. So then the next thing is, start small, start with something that you are comfortable with handing over to someone else, that it's going to help you, but it's not something that it's so impactful, maybe that's dealing with clients or something like that, but something that can be done behind the scenes that they can do. Start there, start small, helps build that level of trust by doing that. And then the other thing is communication. You want to be, whoever you're working with and delegating to, you want to build that relationship with them. That helps with the trust too. So stay in communication. In my world, it's virtual, so obviously they can't see the person. So have your virtual meetings by video, meet at least weekly, a little bit more in the beginning if you can, and that helps break down that barrier also.
Yeah, those are great tips. And I think You really hit the nail on the head when you talk about trust and building trust over time with your people. Business is about relationships, business with customers, other key stakeholders, and relationships with our people. And if we want to be effective in our delegation, we have to have mutual accountability and trust between ourselves and those on our team. They have to know that when they are delegated a task, they have to know that they're really going to have the trust of their manager, their leader, to carry it out, that they'll be empowered and supported to do the work that's necessary to accomplish and achieve, related to that task. I've seen many times in the past where leaders, probably good, well-intentioned leaders, but where they delegate something, but then because of their micromanaging approach or because of the way they communicate with their people, there's not a lot of trust developed. And the person who has been delegated to, they've learned over time that no matter what they do, the boss is just going to come in and redo everything they did anyways. And when that kind of a dynamic exists, what ends up happening is your people put in a minimum level of effort when something's delegated to them, because why even try? Why even put forth the effort to really do great work when your boss doesn't value your work? They don't believe in you, they don't trust you, they don't support or empower you, and ultimately they're just going to micromanage you and redo everything they asked you to do in the first place. That's a toxic environment. I've seen it so many times in different organizations. So that's trust on the end of, your people need to trust you. And of course, you need, as the leader, to develop trust in your people so that you can, over time, feel more and more comfortable handing off more and more complex tasks and activities to your people. So the responsibilities that you share are meaningful opportunities, not just busy work, not just, some low level type of thing that you don't want to be bothered with. While it's certainly appropriate, for an organizational leader to not get into the weeds and do the grimy work that needs to get done in the business, it's also a really great way to build rapport and trust with your people if you're seen at least as someone who's willing to, on occasion, roll up your sleeves and work alongside them and support them and mentor and coach them, and that you're not too good for any work that needs to get done, especially when it's an all hands on deck kind of a situation. So we need to find that balance between, being supportive but not micromanaging, being willing to roll up our sleeves and get to work even on the crummy work that needs to be done, while most of the time delegating things so you can focus on the highest priorities of the business. And I'm not sure there's like an easy answer to that. And ultimately it comes down to the dynamics of your team and the particulars of what you're trying to accomplish as an organization. But if we can stay, aware of that, if we can acknowledge it and stay attuned to that delicate balance that we have to strike, and that we, in my mind, probably if we're ever going to err on the side of leaning into delegation and empowering and trusting and giving opportunities for your people to grow and develop. If that's the context and the environment that we create in the workplace, it's going to be a much improved environment and opportunity for our people to thrive. I'm excited to announce the publication of my new book from HCI Press, The Alchemy of Truly Remarkable Leadership: Ordinary, Everyday Actions that Produce Extraordinary Results. Consider how the nature of work has shifted over the past 50 years. With increased globalization, rapid technological advancement, and the shift in economic composition, the average job of today looks very different than the average job of 50 years ago. What will the jobs and organizations of tomorrow look like? Moreover, what does this all mean for organizational leaders? What are the core competencies and capabilities of organizations and their leadership that are prepared for continued disruption and geopolitical and socioeconomic shifts? Regardless of what the future holds, increasingly, leaders need to be socially minded, data-driven, decisive, champions of talent, and disruptors of the traditional notions of leadership, teams, organizations, and work. The Alchemy of Truly Remarkable Leadership will help you to explore your own leadership competencies and capabilities and consider ways to apply and implement them into your workplace and personal life.
Right, and I totally agree. And if someone is doing the micromanaging, obviously they're not getting the benefit from the delegating either. They're not going to reap the benefits because it's still like they're so involved, they're still actually doing it. So there's not going to be that extra time to be able to focus on the higher level things because you're still in the midst of doing what you were doing before. So that was a good point that you brought up. And it's hard sometimes for some people to let go. That's just a tough thing, but they've got to decide what's the most important. Because I even, even dealing with that myself, sometimes, you have to think, okay, but yeah, in the end, what's the most important thing for me to focus my time here or stay here trying to make sure and micromanage this piece over here, and it's not going to let me get to my end goal of what I'm trying to accomplish. So that's what you just have to keep in the forefront of your mind to be able to not let go like you should.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's talk a little bit more about the when of delegating. It's kind of come up in what we've already talked about. But I think there is a time and a place when delegation, is more appropriate. I think kind of both of our defaults is, delegation is important. We should probably be delegating more. But there's probably a time and a place where we shouldn't be as quick to delegate. And then there's other times where we should definitely lean into it and do it more proactively.
Correct. And so a lot of times I'll hear people too say, I don't, when is a good time for me to do it? I don't know, when I should start doing it. So some of the signs to look for is definitely you're getting to the end of the day and your to-do list hasn't gone down that much. You have things that you want to, goals and things that you want to accomplish, and specifically maybe a task or a project or an additional revenue stream or something that you're trying to do for your business, but that's been on the back burner for quite some time because you don't have time to get to it. That's another sign there. The feeling of being overwhelmed, that you just have so much going on that you can barely think, or you're wanting to grow your business, you're wanting to be able to bring on more clients, but you don't see that you have the bandwidth to do it. Those are some signs that it's time for you to delegate. That's a good time for you to start thinking about it, that you're ready to do it, because having that extra time, of course, there's 24 hours in the day. We can't work all those times, but if you're working 7, 8 hours a day, then you can have someone else come in and help, and that's going to double your productivity. So thinking about it along those lines too, but those are definitely signs to look for that it's time for you to delegate.
Excellent. I think those are really astute points, and ultimately it comes back to um, finding the balance that's right for you within your style, and within your team and your organization. We don't want to dump all of our stuff onto other people, and I've seen that happen too, where a manager, a leader, an executive kind of just shoves all of their work onto other people so that they not so they free up their time so they can focus on more strategic stuff, but so they can free up their time to not work and then go golf more or whatever. So clearly that's not appropriate. Clearly we want to provide stretch opportunities for our people by delegating in meaningful ways and giving them an opportunity to show what they can do, and over time develop a rapport with them and a trust with them, so that we can lean on them even more heavily in the future and help them develop for their next stage in their career. And sometimes we're in crisis mode, and at that point in time, like, we need to be ready, the all hands on deck moments. We need to be ready to roll up our sleeves and dig in and work right alongside our people, even on the more tedious stuff that maybe normally we wouldn't be doing. But most of the time, it really is a good idea that we need to lean more on our people, and we need to leverage their capabilities and trust in them, that they're going to be able to produce and contribute in meaningful ways. And that's going to help us just be so much more productive in how we spend our time and what we're able to accomplish. Well, Tonya, it has been a real pleasure talking with you today. The time has flown by, and we're about to the end of the episode. But before we close, I wanted to give you a chance to share with listeners how they can get connected with you, find out more about your company and how you can assist them, and then give us the final word on the topic for today.
Okay, sure. I also have a podcast called Unbottleneck Your Business. So that's one way to hear more from me. You can also visit our website at teamdelegate.com/downloads. And we have some great resources there as it relates to delegating. I'm also active on LinkedIn, so you can find me there at Tonya Thomas. And our company, again, just we work with business owners to help them be able to work in their zone of genius, safeguard their thinking time, and expand their business. And we do that by providing executive virtual assistance, which is remote administrative support. And just to wrap things up here, this has been a fantastic conversation. And I do believe that the power of delegating really helps people grow their time and have more time to work in their zone of genius and do what they love and grow and expand their business. And also from a personal standpoint, have more time with family if that's what you'd like to do, it to keep from burning both ends of the candle as well. So keeping that in mind as you think about, and for me, I work a lot with small business owners and entrepreneurs. So if that's you in that role, you strongly want to consider how you delegate. When you do it, just make sure that you do it effectively. There is the right and wrong way to do it. So you want to make sure that you plan for it also, and not just diving in without a plan, because that's a quick way to fail at it. So have that plan in place for how you're going to do it. So that's what I have to share.
Thank you so much. I love the whole idea around the zone of genius. Let's tap into that. Let's be more effective delegators. I encourage listeners to reach out, get connected with Tonya, find out more about what she can do for you. And as always, I hope everyone can stay healthy and safe, that you can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day. And I hope you all have a great week. We are excited about the launch of HCI's new magazine, Human Capital Leadership. Human Capital Leadership is a free, interactive e-magazine designed to help individuals, leaders, and organizations find innovative approaches to maximize their human capital potential. We will be publishing issues quarterly in August, November, February, and May. Check out the first issue and let us know what you think. Thanks again for joining us for this episode of the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. I hope you stay healthy and safe and that you have a great week.